Ooh, doggy. What is going on, beautiful people? I hope and pray that you're just doing incredibly well. I pray you're doing phenomenally well. And on this video, I'm going to share with you 4 things that you need to make sure you have before you do any sub-2 deal. Okay. Now, before I dive into it, please like, subscribe, share, hit the little notification button. So this way you're notified when I release any new videos. It is so exciting to me, and I'm blessed and honored too to see how fast this channel is growing because we are on a mission to share as much actual information that you can use and apply it to your real estate investing journey here. So, my goal here is to make sure that I'm giving you tactical tips, so to speak, right? That you can actually implement, not a whole lot of fluff and hoorah. All right. But let's dive into the content. So, when it comes to sub-2 deals, and let me back up a little bit. If you don't know what a sub-2 deal is, this is where you are purchasing a property subject to the existing financing. Okay. I've done breakdowns on exactly what a sub-2 is. Now, I'm not going to go in depth on that. So, just go back and watch that video. But what I want to talk about when you actually have a seller that says, yes, Clifford, I'm ready to do a sub-2, or yes, I'm open to you taking over the payments. The number one thing that you need to make sure you get is what is their monthly payments, right? That's extremely important to know, right? And not just the monthly payments, we need it all, the whole PITI. That's the principal, insurance, taxes, all of that stuff. What is that amount? Because it's going to play a crucial role to make sure that this is actually a good deal or not, right? So let's say, for example, if you are going to be taking over payments in an area where the rent rates are 1,500, right? But the mortgage is 2,200, that's probably not going to work, right? So that might be something that we can pass on. And actually, not to go too left field, and I want to stay on track, but that just brought up a kind of nugget in my mind. Just know too, just because a seller is willing to do a sub-2 does not mean that it's always going to be a good deal. Okay. And that's a good indicator of that. Now, that may not be such a bad thing. I know I shared the example of, the mortgage being 2,200 and rent rates are 1,500. Well, it doesn't matter if you're going to be fixing it up and flipping it. So that just depends. But either way, you need to know what that is, right? Because sometimes it could be cheaper for you to get a private money loan if they have a really crappy loan. So make sure you know, number one, what their monthly payments are with everything included. Number two is going to be their interest rates. Okay. This is extremely important, especially if you are trying to consider this property for a long-term rental. This is actually what I prefer to do. So this way, you want to make sure that those interest rates are pretty good, right? Don't be getting properties that have 6, 7, 8% interest rates. There's tons of them that you can get, especially, during the pandemic or before the pandemic when rates were at an all-time low. So there's so many opportunities there. So make sure that you get what their interest rates are. Number three is going to be the remaining term on the loan. Okay. So let's say, for example, when they first bought that house, they did a 30-year loan. Well, how many years do they have left? What's their maturity date on that property, right? Do they have 10 years left, 20 years left, 29 years left? Yes, we have actually taken over payments where this was a brand new mortgage where they've owned it for only like a year. So, but that's good to know as well, because let's say, for example, you go on to do a seller financing wrap, and that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother video. But it's important to know that I'm getting this information for a specific reason, right? So on a wrap, I wouldn't do a seller financing wrap for 20 years when my mortgage that I'm taking over has 29 years left. So I need to make sure that I do a 30-year loan when I do my seller financing, okay? So it's very, very, very important. And then last but not least, are they late on their payments? Is there a reinstatement amount? Is there a reinstatement fee that needs to be paid? Okay. I actually find that majority of my sub twos come from pre-foreclosures. So if they're in pre-foreclosure, guess what this means? They are late on their payments. So we need to actually reach out to that mortgage company and find out, hey, give me the exact amount for the payoff and reinstatement to bring this loan, to bring this mortgage 100% current, okay? Because that's going to affect everything. If you're going to get that house and they haven't paid the mortgage in 2 years and that mortgage is $2,500 a month, well, guess what? That's going to add up quite a bit, right? And so now you have to ask yourself, I don't want to have to bring, $50,000 to the closing table just to take over this property. Like, I might as well just move on and go somewhere else. Like, the whole point of us doing sub two deals is because it's convenient for us, right? And so when they start getting that far behind, it almost makes the deal kind of not worth it. In my personal experience and opinion, I think that once we start getting over 10% of the ARV, then it's not really worth taking over those payments on the property. Is a very good quick rule of thumb, at least for me, to look at these deals and analyze these deals very quickly. So what I mean by this, if I go in here and I run my ARV and that ARV is $100,000, well, if they owe $30,000, it's not worth me doing that deal. If it's below $10,000, it's probably worth me doing that deal, or I can probably make that deal happen to where it makes sense. So that can also be a very good quick rule of thumb for you to look at these deals and analyze these deals quickly, especially if you're looking at several a day. All right. So I hope these was helpful, but make sure when you're doing these sub two deals and making these offers, don't commit to anything until you get the information to those 4 things. But y'all have a blessed one. I'll see you on the next one.